If you work in a painting company and you're trying to decide what are the right softwares or the software stack that you need to grow and scale your painting company, that's what I want to cover in this video. I've got a lot of opinions and strategy on how to select the right softwares. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Chris. I am the owner of Boolean Automation. We are a no-code consulting and implementation company. We help with automating business processes, specifically in the painting industry. So if you are trying to figure out how to eliminate the need to copy and paste information from one system to the next, or streamline or automatically generate estimates or quotes, things like that, that's what we help businesses do. And we also put out a ton of free content on this YouTube channel. So if you're a painter, please like the video, subscribe to the channel because this is for you. All right, so the first thing when people ask me, what should I use for my painting company? What's the best software? The reality is that it completely depends on this current size of the business and the goal that the business is aiming for in the next 3 to 5 years. I think that the first thing that I want to say to everybody is there is no perfect software solution out there. So if you are looking for the all-in-one system that does everything and the dishes too at home, it doesn't exist. Every software has pros and cons. And some of those things would be like a software that is very easy to use and out of the box has a ton of functionality and pre-built templates is going to be, high in the ease of use or the user interface, but the customization is going to be lower. So it's like Wix, the Wix website building tool. It's amazing because you can spin up a website in 5 minutes, but it's not a custom tool that you can literally do anything that you want. However, it oftentimes is very sufficient and works perfectly for most small companies. And they continue to make more and more templates to make it more user-friendly or whatever. But the reality is that if you need like a custom website or you want to stand out from the crowd or you need to have certain requirements on your website, you're going to go build a custom website from scratch or hire some developers to do that. And obviously that's like highly customizable and not as user-friendly, but you get exactly what you want. So that's the same type of thing in software, for example, is that you have trade-offs and you have to evaluate, do we need these features and are we okay with not having these features? Because every software has that. The other thing I would say is that if you are a small company, let's say that your goal is to be at $1 million or less, and you just kind of want to have one or two painters and you're going to be like an owner operator running the estimates, maybe painting as well. For companies under $1 million, I would even say potentially under $2 million, I would say that the all-in-one systems are going to make more sense for you because you don't have enough staff to actually take advantage of some of the robust or more capable softwares out there. So you need a simpler solution that's just like everything's in one place. Is it the best? It's not great, but it's going to do everything, 50 to 60% well. So it's got some lead capturing. It's got some pipelines for your sales team. Maybe it can book estimates, things like that, automated messages. All that's great. And it's going to serve that sub 2 million company really well. If your goal is to be, between 4 and 7 million, that's where I think it gets interesting because you might actually be able to limp along and use the softwares of the smaller company. And maybe you started as the small company and you're using an all-in-one system and it worked great when you were small because you didn't have enough staff. But as soon as you get to that $4 to $7 million mark, in my experience, clients start to realize that they need either more robust reporting or they have a sales manager or they're bringing in a bookkeeper or a controller and that person who's a professional in that space wants more capable tools or customized reports, or they don't like the standard format of the job costing that comes out of the all-in-one system. Or maybe you want to start adding in other specialty tools like Company Cam or a texting software or a more robust marketing analytics tool. And you might not be able to integrate it or at least connect it in a logical workflow to that all-in-one software. That's where it starts getting to the place of you need to have tools or have a variety of softwares that all integrate together. And then if you're above, say, 10 million, this is much more obvious for that business. If you are a business of that size, you wouldn't even consider an all-in-one system oftentimes because you know that there are particular needs that different parts of your business have, and it doesn't make sense to be limited or constrained by the all-in-one. You need the customization there. So that's size of the business. The other thing I would say is every single software you look at, you'd never want to purchase software based on the features of that software alone. And what I mean by that is if you're like, wow, this is super cool, or it's really easy to build quotes, or I can, the project management features are awesome and it's got route planning and whatever. All that stuff is fantastic, but that just gets the conversation started. Obviously, to me, the features are what intrigues me or makes me even consider a software. If it doesn't have the features you want, then stop looking at it. But the fact that it has the features is step one. The next thing and probably the most important thing, is integrations. You have to make sure that the integration capability of the software is going to serve you as you grow. And what I mean by that is literally getting the apps to talk to each other. So if you find an amazing application and it does 80 or 90% of what you need, but it doesn't talk to anything, you are literally building in handcuffs to your business that you're going to get, you're going to get used to using this software. And then you aren't going to be able to add on other softwares or send data to QuickBooks or send incoming lead data in because it doesn't talk. So obviously, like the way I look at it is, does it integrate with Zapier or does it integrate with Make? Those are two no-code tools. I'll put the links down below if you want to check them out, or if you're on this channel, you probably have already been using them. But those no-code tools used in businesses to essentially eliminate the need for developers, so you can connect an app that connects with Zapier to any other app that connects with Zapier. And you can have things like, when an estimate is sent, do these 5 things, or when a lead form is submitted, do these 20 things. And so the Zapier and Make are really cool because they're lower cost automation or integration solutions. Whereas if you go with integrate with Zapier or Make, it might still be possible through their API, but it's going to be much more time consuming and probably more expensive to integrate with an API directly, as opposed to using a Zapier or Make type tool. If an app doesn't have Zapier or Make, but you still love the features, that open API is kind of the last hope. You want to see, does it have an open API, and can we just custom, build out what we want to get the data in and out? And we do that all the time here at Boolean. So if you are come across a software that doesn't integrate the way that you want, but you love it and you want to get it talking to the other apps, that's something that we could potentially help with. You do need developers. This is not something that a typical person can have success with because it's technical coding. But don't take my word for it. Here's a brief testimonial from one of our customers that went through our automation consulting and implementation. So check that out, and then we'll get back to this video.
Working with Boolean Automation, we were hoping initially that we would be able to really reduce overhead, but that really didn't wind up being the case. What we found with the automation is that we've been able to grow without adding overhead. So what I'm really feeling like is that as we were struggling to keep up with everything, all of the tasks that we've automated before, we were always projecting how much more staff are we going to have. And at this point, we've grown. I think just last year alone, we grew 10%, and not a peep out of anybody saying we're overtaxed, we're over busy, and we can't keep up. So depending on where you're at in your business, I feel like if you're on a growth track, if you're trying to figure out how you manage and make things work, signing up with these guys can definitely help to keep that additional overhead component out of the conversation of how do we grow. I feel like we're not searching for more staff. You have to look and say, 2 years ago at 20% smaller size and 20% less call volume, presumably, we were struggling to keep up. And now you add 20% and everybody's having leisurely conversations in the office right now. So, I do think that's in large part to the automation.
Make, Zapier, Open API. If it doesn't have any of those features, run the other direction. It is an absolute worst decision to use that software. The other thing, and this is a bonus for you guys, when a company tells you, we integrate with Zapier, or we integrate with Make, or we have an open API, you can't stop there. You have to actually go look, what are the triggers and actions inside of Zapier? What do I have access to read and write to through your open API? What events trigger things in the API to send webhooks to other softwares? And if you're curious what a webhook is, I'll put a link down below to explain webhooks. Very common integration or connecting API call that saves a bunch of time. But those things are like, I can't tell how many times I have had a client that just purchased a software because they told them it integrates with Zapier. And then you get into their Zapier integration and it literally has one function and you can add incoming leads to the software. So I get frustrated because there's no protected terms on what defines an integration. And technically, if I integrate with something and do one thing, I integrate with it, but it's not going to suit the needs of the business. So that's probably the most important thing that I would say when selecting softwares is check out the integration capability, but also what access to data do you have for reading and writing in a given application through those integration tools. I hope that was valuable. Like I've said before, my name is Chris. Here at Boolean, our goal is to free you up to do what you love. We help painting companies streamline their operations, cut out literally 80% of the data entry in their business, which makes it easier to generate reports so you can make better business decisions and ultimately scale your business more efficiently. So if you're a painter, you came to the right place. Please like the video and subscribe. We'll see you in the next video.